Well, speaking of your question, I actually I told her David Newman the question, and I said, even we chazar we're not like at this high level, but even that, you see how we're holding a daf dalit and the oilam has daf base like this that we're asking questions, and he not, the word isn't impressed, but he was like, wow, that's amazing, it's beautiful, Meretz Hashem more. So the question that you both were asking is that on dalit amid aleph, and I think everyone asked it at a different point. The Gemara is discussing a sukkah 12 and 20 amos, and then the Gemara talks about building a platform. And the Gemara talks about building a platform and Daif and Akuma connecting it in all different cases, right? And the Gemara talks about putting pillows and blankets, etc. So the Meiri brings out the point. The Meiri says it. I don't remember which one of you said it. Meiri says it on Rava, because Rava says it's all about kviyas, right? So the Meiri says, 1 second, what would pillows and blankets or dirt or what does all this help? Your sukkah, the fact that it's taller than 20 amos, by its very nature, is keva, so it should be puzzle. So that's the Meiri's kasha. How do you fit the two? And he wants to say maybe our Gemara and Daf Dalid proves not like Rabbah. Now, the reason why I think the reason he asked it that way is because lahalacha we go with Rabbah very strongly more than anyone else. So the Meiri explains. He just says a chiddush. I'll tell you the chiddush, but to me it was more important that the question is asked by the Rishonim. The Meiri says that you have to say, he says, along this, he says, by the pillows and blankets, you have to say that if it were to work, the pillows and blankets become ground, halachically. They are ground. So much so that your walls are not 20 amos anymore. Your walls are now only 18 amos because your ground just rose up. And now, even though your structure, quote unquote, is taller than 20 amos and quote unquote is keva, no, it's not, because the ground raises up. You like the lumdis, great. You don't like the lumdis, that's fine also. But the kasha, I think, is the most important.
I was asking on Hoots and Yard then. Also the ride that's not like Rob.
Correct. So again, I'll be honest. I only saw it back here.
Okay, now I have the Meiri also saying this Gemara is
Yeah.
not like Rob, but
Yeah, exactly. So very good, very good. As I was going to say, I saw the Meiri on this shtickle. I don't know if he goes through each step. You were on the next step, but yeah.
The Meiri is saying the Gemara is not like
Yeah.
Rob. Then
There you go. There you go.
I could join the Meiri.
You can hang your hat. You can hang your hat on that one. Beautiful. Good. And with that, let's go to Dalid Amid Beis. Let's go to Dalid Amid Beis, and I don't know. I don't know. Either we read this last piece fast, so either we could do this again, or we can start a new Gemara. Whatever everyone here wants.
I'm ready to start.
Ready to start a new Gemara? Okay, let's start new. Let's start fresh. Let's start fresh. And Givaldic. And I think I actually told this to some of the guys there. Everyone's thinking about how do you get, what are ways to convince people to not to learn, but to learn, to read the Gemara. So I said one of the things, I think we said this the first time, is we all want, God willing, when our children, I know Rami, you have girls, but okay, Mirz Hashem, when our children come home and want to learn Gemara with us, we don't want to be that guy that like, oh, where's the art school? Or like, I'll hire you a tutor, like you want to be able to sit and learn with your son. It's a beautiful thing. But if unfortunately, if you never learned, then it's a pretty difficult task. So that's one of the tremendous advantages. It's 20 minutes, 20 minutes a night times two. But if you put a focus on reading, maybe writing in the Gemara, I personally, not to show anyone, I just happen to write in my Gemaras. It's just what I do. These are actually my high school Gemaras, and they're penciled everywhere. Over Shabbos, everyone was talking about different ideas about writing. I was like, you don't need have ideas. You just write yourself. Why do you write yourself? Because they're hard words. I write the word in, not because I'm not doing it to show anyone I'm doing it, because it's a hard word, or you put a comma and you put a period, to eat everyone on their level, to help you read it. And then if you can read it, that's, obviously the beauty over here is to be able to read it and to be able to learn it on your own. So let's get to, I'll just say one last line. There's one guy who said he has a chabura of post guys who sat and learned in Koilo in Rabbeim. And they learned with this, mom is just Gemara, slow and simple. I said to him, I'm like, how does that make sense? He said, which is, I sort of could see it a little bit, that, you learn. But what, if you were to say, don't do this, but, ask the average guy in Kollel or Rebbe or Rav, give me a number. Give me a number. One Amid, tell me a number right now. Don't open a book. Give me a number. Who could just spit off a number? Give me a parak. No one could. What do you mean? You spent 20 years learning Baba Kama Daf Beis. Okay, so okay, Arba Avos Nezikin, and we could all start conjuring up. I just did this in Daf Yomi. I'm a little bum. It's not fair, But so the difference is then when guys learn it like this with slow and with Chazara, if you ask guys like that guy who's Chazering, you ask him anything in Shabbos, what is it? What do he say? He said Sukkah. I don't know. 3 Masechtas is crazy. They know it on the fingertips. Know on the fingertips. So it works. It's so not anything. That's why it's like so not fair. Like you redesigned the wheel by doing nothing. I told her I was doing that. I said, you didn't do anything. He's like, I know, that's what the beauty is. I just said go backwards, just learn. And then chazer and then learn again and actually know it. And when you go weiter and you don't know it, so go back. Don't just say go further, go back. And then look at that before you know it. It's like, oh well, no, look, I did it. Some people take one time, some people take 10, some take 20, some take 30. The guy's there. It's crazy what Baruch Hashem, what people do. But you do it. You do it till you know it. And you ask people, they're Rosh Chabur there, like you were saying, that they know Shabbos, Sukkah, Yuma, whatever. Mesechtas. Sechtas on their fingertips. So all I'll say is, B'siyat Shmaya, we should all be Zaycha. I'll be honest, I'm learning this with you all now. I learned this other Chabura just a few weeks ago. So, and I don't have it on my fingertips. So, Mirza Hashem, we should all get there. Mish'ena Goya Sar Tvachim, says the Mishnah. If it's not taller than 10 Tvachim, Minon. Where do we know this din? Again, what's the din? That the minimum height of your sukkah is 10 Tvachim. Itmar. Rav Chanina, Rav Yechon, Rav Chaviva, all of them masnu. Oh, excuse me, I read it wrong. Rav Chanina, Rav Yechon, Rav Chaviva. Kama. Masnu bekulu seder mayed kol ki. I'll translate in a moment. Kol ki aizuga. Anytime. No, I read it wrong. One more time. I'm sorry. One more time. I didn't look at this yet. I apologize. Minon, Itmar, Rav Chanin, Rav Yechon, Rav Chaviva, Masnu. They all learned. These 4 incredible giants learned. The Gemara interjects and comments. Bekulu Seder. You know what? I'm actually not. If anyone wants, I'm not a pencil guy. I've in my old age become a pen guy. Bekulu Seder Mayed. In all of Seder Mayed, Kol Ki Haizuga. Anytime you have this pair. Chalufe, they switch Rav Yochanan Umayli Rav Yonasan. They switch those names. So now again, it's not Rav Chanina, Rav Yochanan, and Rav Chaviva. Rather, who is it? Rav Chanina, Rav Yonasan, and Rav Chaviva. Okay, a shtickle name game. That's who it is. So what do they all say? Tachlis. Arain Tisha. And Aroin, the Aroin HaKodesh, the Aroin in the Mizbeach, in the Beis HaMikdash, was Tisha, was 9 Tfachim tall. V'Kapayras. And the Kapayras is the lid that the Kruvim were on top of the Aroin, was 1 Tefach. Harei Kan Asara. Together you have 10 Tfachim. Okay, so Shkayach. So the Aroin was 10 Tfachim tall. What in the world does that have to do with the fact that my Sukkah's minimum height has to be at least 10 Tvachim? Uksiv, and it says in the Torah, V'noyaditi l'chasham, and I will make it known to you there. V'dibarti itcha. It says Hashem to Moshe Rabbeinu, and I will talk with you me'al hakapayros. So Hashem says, I'm going to be on top of me'al hakapayros. Hashem is on top of the kapayros, talking to Moshe Rabbeinu. Okay, still, what does it show us? V'tanya, on the top of the Hamanaf. And we learned in a Brisa. Rav Yaisi Omer teaches Rav Yaisi. Me'olam loy yarda shchina. The shchina never comes down limata to this world, meaning it never comes lower than Tven Tvachim. V'loy oyla Moshe. And how does this fit in with Uncle Moshe? Hashem is there, Hashem is there, Hashem is truly everywhere. Good kasha. V'lo alu means the manifestation of the Shechina Chvaisish. V'lo alu Moshe, and Moshe Rabbeinu himself does not ascend upward. Ve'eliyahu limaraim, and they don't go up to Shamayim. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, Hashamayim is Shamayim LaHashem. The heavens are for God. The Aretz and the land is Nasan Libnei Adam. Period. So how did this prove that your sukkah has to be minimum height 10 tefachim? So if you look at Rashi on the second line teaches us Shema Mina Limala. I mean the second line from the top in Rashi. Me'asara, above 10 tefachim, Mifsika Rishusa. We see it's called a separate Rishus from the fact that Hashem doesn't go below there. Moshe Rabbeinu doesn't go above there. That's the juncture between God and man, hovering there on top of the Arayin, that shows me that a Rishus, a halachic area, for lack of a better word, is 10 tefachim. And therefore, what's the therefore? So our sukkah, which is a halachic rishos, has to be 10 tefachim. A little bit of a far-fetched raya, but that's what the Gemara says. So again, step number one is, where do we learn now from? The Arayin. The Arayin is 9 plus 1. Hashem didn't, and that's where Hashem spoke to Moshe Rabbeinu. Hashem doesn't come down. Moshe doesn't go up. That's what we know rishos is 10 tefachim. That's what we know your sukkah has to be at least 10 tefachim. Now the Gemara has a bunch of fascinating questions. Really? Moshe Rabbeinu never went up to heaven? Yes, he did. Really? Hashem never came down below? Really? Eliyahu Hanavi never went up to heaven? So the Gemara now is going to have a list of questions. I'm going to read it a little bit faster just because it's late, and we're going to pick it up from here. But a list of times we find in the Torah Nevi'im that Moshe, Eliyahu did indeed go up to heaven. And the classical Gemara sense, the Gemara is going to sort of like, just deflect. Almost, sometimes the deflection is not so good. It just sort of blocked the question. That's what's going on over here. Says the Gemara. V'layardu, 4 lines down. V'layardu shchina lamata. Really? Does the shchina not descend downward? V'aksiv, what the pasuk says. V'yerid Hashem al Har Sinai. Hashem came down onto Har Sinai. So we see Hashem came down. Answers the Gemara, yeah, he came down, but Hashem was still above 10 tefachim. And this is going to be the theme. We're going to have, 5 or 6 questions. Each one is going to be a pasuk. Push it away. Next question. V'aksiv. But the pasuk says, V'amdu ragla b'yomahu, and his legs stood on that day al har azeitim, on the mountain of olives, har azeitim. So says the Gemara, we see, and it's referring to the Shechina, the Raglav of the Shechina, whatever that means. It means that Hashem was standing on Har Zeitim. So we see Hashem was down here. Answers the Gemara again. It was above 10 tefachim. Givaldik. Third question. Really? Did Moshe and Eliyahu never go up to heaven? What the pasuk says. Moshe Allah El HaElokim. Moshe went up to Hashem. Answers the Gemara. And yeah, these aren't such geschmack answers, but this is the way the Gemara works. It could have been he was below 10. Eliyahu went up. Bisara means a whirlwind. That's a good word. This has to be Nachsomer. Yeah, this is Malachim. Eliyahu went up in a whirlwind to Shemayim. So what do we see? Eliyahu Navi is clearly in heaven. Answers the Gemara. Lamata me'asara, under 10 tefachim. V'aksiv, another pasuk. Me'achiz p'nei kisei. Says me'achiz p'nei kisei. Par sheiz alav anano. What does this mean? He spreads the clouds upon him, and he allowed Moshe Rabbeinu to grab onto the throne. I have no clue what these words mean. This is a classical example. These are all just written into my Gemara. That Hashem allowed Moshe Rabbeinu to hold on to the throne. So what does that mean? Clearly, Moshe is in heaven if he's holding Hashem's throne. Rav Tancha milameno shepirish shakai meziv shchinasai. Hashem separated himself, whatever this means, from the radiance of his Shechina, ve'ananoi, and his cloud, olav lemata me'asara. The cloud of Hashem descended, and that's where Moshe Rabbeinu was. What's the problem? It said he was holding on to the Kisi HaKavod, the throne. It says he was holding the throne. So very good. The Shechina is up there, and there's this cloud down here. Says the Gemara, the throne came all the way down. Whatever that means, the throne was all the way down within 10 tefachim. Moshe Rabbeinu grabbed onto it. That's the end of this sequence of, 7, 8 questions. What do we see? With this we end. What's Mikar number 1 that a sukkah has to be 10 tefachim? Arayin. Why? Aron was 9. Kapairis was 1 equals 10. How does that prove anything? And the pasuk says Hashem spoke to Moshe from on top of the Arayin, and Moshe didn't go up. So we see that a rishos is 10 Tfachim. We'll stop here again.